Concept art is really important as it gives the artist all elements needed to create a level, such as textures, lightings, and special effects. First, you start with modeling. This includes all objects that will be required to produce a map and later be integrated in the engine. Then, the textures that define all material are produced and applied to the base model. Thanks to our light and shadow feature, we integrate a dynamic light system into each map. As you can see here, the shadows are moving interactively in real time. All these elements combined gives us the final look of the game.
We wanted to have a unity of time and location because we find that that makes it a lot more personal for players. It's more interesting story-wise because the events are unfolding a lot faster. So Washington was a very interesting location for us because it's the heart of the United States. It's also a very interesting location for Sam Fisher, being part of the US government.
The idea that Sam is facing his former agency home was very interesting from a character perspective.
So I'm going to show you guys how we do our character creation. First off, we start off with a concept, Sam Fisher, to get the feel of what we wanted. And once that's done, we create the base mesh, which is a low resolution one. And when that's done, we go into ZBrush and we start adding details. So the first step that we went through for ZBrush would be something like this, where there's pretty much nothing. And then we go in, refine, put more details to finally get something that has a lot more detail, so the pores. And once that's done, we texture it and we bring it into the engine, which would look something like this.
Sam will still use gadgets. His situation has changed now. He's left Third Echelon, so he's on his own. So you'll find a couple of gadgets that he'll improvise in the gameplays. We still have gadgets where he'll be able to disrupt lights, like the old gameplays. But the realization this time around is a lot more action-based, so you'll have EMP grenades and EMP devices that'll help you really create a path of shadows. Like the previous Splinter cells, but with a 2009 special effects turn on it.
Alors sur Splinter Cell, on a essayé de rendre les SFX impressionnants, omniprésents, et je vais vous montrer un SFX en particulier pour qu'on voit comment ça se passe un petit peu. Donc là, il s'agit de l'explosion. Ça, c'est en mode filaire, on voit bien tous les quads, la façon dont ils évoluent dans l'espace. Et par exemple, on peut isoler un des sprites pour qu'on comprenne qu'en fin de compte, un effet spécial, c'est vraiment une composition de plusieurs textures animées, de plusieurs éléments, de plusieurs sprites. Et c'est la composition de tout ça qui va créer la sauce et qui va créer le dynamisme de l'explosion.
So as you can see, audio and sound is a big, important part of the game. And in Splinter Cell, we have over 17,000 lines of dialogue, which is about how many hours overtime I've done.
Au niveau du son, ce qui fait que Splinter Cell est un des meilleurs jeux dans son genre, c'est qu'il y a une équipe qui est très solide qui travaille sur le projet. On a plusieurs personnes, des sound designers dédiés, des programmeurs audio, des gens qui font du follet à 100% sur notre projet. Mais on a aussi une vision très technique de l'audio sur le projet. Et on s'est rendu compte qu'une des approches qui pourrait améliorer grandement la qualité des armes dans le projet, c'est de jouer premièrement sur les perspectives, c'est-à-dire d'avoir, dépendamment si le garde qui tire dessus est très proche, moyennement proche ou extrêmement loin. On a des sources sonores qui sont différentes et qui simulent en fait la distance du combat. Ça va être aussi avoir un traitement pas tant réel au niveau de la réverbération de la pièce, mais plutôt pré-rendre des effets sonores comme un espèce d'immense hangar ou une cathédrale ou une grande pièce. Là, on va comme pré-rendre l'effet de réverb sur les armes.
The voice acting in Splinter Cell Conviction is the approach that we're taking is a little more reality-based, more organic and natural sort of acting, non-acting, just speaking. You know, that kind of thing.
Hey, asshole, remember me?
We're in Los Angeles and we're getting ready to do the first voiceover session with, you know, with Sam Fisher. So as soon as he opened his mouth, you know, I got chills. I was like, shit, man, that's Sam Fisher in that booth.
I have a message to those who stand in my way. Pray. It's good to be back. You don't get to talk about my daughter. The whole story seems to be more dense. It's more human. The relationships seem more human. I need to know about my daughter. I caught myself actually when we were doing some of the dialogue, especially around Sarah, my daughter, and stuff like that, that it got a little emotionally richer than I'm used to. I can usually tell when something's organically connected. It sort of drops somewhere into the center of the chest and stuff. There are always nice little surprises when that happens. Who knows about Sarah? Who knows about my daughter?
It was also the first Splinter Cell that used real orchestra, like we were here today at Warner Brothers Studios, recording a real string section for the game.
We decided quite early to have only strings for the orchestra, electronics and percussion. So that gave a kind of signature sound from the beginning, and then Kevin and Michael had added some specific instruments to certain maps.
Some of the fun ones like Malta, which is the opening map, we ran over to the store and bought a ton of percussion and just started like, okay, throw up a mic and let's start playing percussion, and all right, we stacked it on top of this, and then let's grab the trash can and beat the trash can and grab a guitar and bow it with a violin bow, and really just trying to create some unique sounds to tie into everything.
Yeah, it's kind of experimental.
I think they achieve a real good blend of electronic and the string section, which for me is a really, really good achievement, because I think it's something very tough to produce.
Et tout va être accordé en fait en fonction de la musique. Donc la musique drive un petit peu le tempo du jeu. On va essayer de synchroniser, on va synchroniser les animations à ce tempo-là. Donc on va essayer par exemple d'avoir des coups de poing qui tombent au moment du temps fort de la musique. Donc ça va donner comme un ensemble d'ensemble harmonieux et puis réaliste.
Park. Yes. Did you know that most of the secondary cast of this game are named after Montreal Expos baseball players? Not that I really care. I'm not a big fan of baseball. Not my sort of game. This is my sort of game, so let's play.
This is a part of my job I love very much. Making sure that everything works. And I do mean everything. So much work was done on this game. As you can see, the projections, it's a 3D text, it's pretty cool. We've integrated the actions right onto the objects. There's a lot of different things to test to make sure that they work fine. Every little thing that could make the experience less enjoyable for the people at the E3.
We are going to LA for E3.
All remaining customers, please board now.
Rehearsing, and rehearsing. Until my fingers bleed. We're gonna go to rehearse for the Microsoft press conference.
The game is ready already.
Pretty nerve-wracking, I'll tell you. There's a lot of people over there, the place was packed.
Splinter Cell Conviction! in avec un special guest.
We're gonna see Splinter Cell first.